Aston Villa 2, Manchester United 1. Like and subscribe, and let's get straight into it because Aston Villa just hit 10 wins in a row. Yes, 10 wins. Not just undefeated, no ties, 10 wins. And this is very impressive because like I've said it before, right? In this modern football, getting even 5 wins in a row, 8 wins in a row is hard. It is very hard. You see Arsenal drop points here, City drop points there. It is very hard to win 10 games in a row. And Aston Villa have just done it. They are third in the league, right next to City, right in part with 3 points from Arsenal, 1 point from City. And look, I'm not saying they're in the title race, but I'm not saying this right. But when it comes to top four, I think Chelsea is very inconsistent. Inconsistent. I think Liverpool is coming up the ranks, but Aston Villa has a very good chance of getting top four, like a very good chance. When you look at their squad depth, it's all right. Is it competing in Europa, FA Cup, and Premier League heavy? Like, is it enough depth to compete in all three fronts, the FA Cup, the Premier League, and the Europa League? I'm not too sure about that, right? I'm not too convinced when it comes to depth for all those three competitions. But when it comes to like Europa League and Prem, I think they have a good enough squad. They have good enough players, and it was a very good game today. But the game itself was pretty good. But when it comes to Aston Villa side, I think they were kind of slow today. I think they were pretty off of it today. Only I think a couple players were on it. Obviously, Morgan Rogers, who I'll hit on a little bit in a little bit. But I really liked the game that Conte had. I really liked the game that Kamara and Tillemans had. I think they had very good games for like for the second Morgan Rogers goal. Tillemans plays around with Dallo in the corner, fakes he was going inside, he goes outside. He's the one that crosses. Ollie Watkins wins it before the defender, and then that's what creates that little bounce inside that Morgan Rogers later on goes to get right in front of Lenny Yoro. And yeah, I think it was a very interesting game. I think you can see United had more XG, they had more possession, and I guess they did create more chances, right? But there was moments where they would have the ball, and I didn't really think they would create anything. Like, they had very good pressing. Don't get me wrong, they had a very good press. They had a very good system to press and get the ball back right away. But once they got the ball and Bruno was out, and Bruno is a little bit, he's a little bit more deeper nowadays. It's just I don't see the flow. I don't see the creative chances. And United, Morgan Rogers gets a goal, right? United press, get the ball back, and that's how they score, right? That the pressing, making Aston Villa create mistakes, and a lot of people aren't giving them props there. They're like, "Oh, Aston Villa made a mistake. United took care of it." No, like United made the press. United with their press created the mistake for Aston Villa. Matty Cash doesn't mess up there if United isn't pressing so hard and so intense, and that's what happens. Cunha gets the ball 1-1, and look, a lot of people are saying that United deserved more, that they did this, they did that, they created had multiple chances, and I agree, right? But I think people forget so much that how important it is to be so effective. United have a striker in Benjamin Sesko who has not been good enough. He's genuinely not been good enough. For the first couple of games he played, there was a lot of talk about he doesn't get service, he doesn't get the ball, they don't find his runs. And today was the opposite. Today, every time he had like two or three chances where they found his run, where they gave him the ball, where he had the chance and he didn't take it. There was the one chance where he was alone on goal and shoots it right at Emi Martinez. There was the other chance where runs between Cash and Martinez. Cash takes Martinez and he does a heavy touch. Like, he got the chances this game. He did get the chances, and if he finishes one of those chances right away, it probably changes up the whole game for Aston Villa, because Aston Villa were pretty pragmatic. They were sitting back, waiting for the ball to get to them until they get counterattack or they can create chances, and that's something I'd like seeing them, because every time they were on the ball, they would try, their midfield would do something. They would genuinely do something with it. When United had the ball, they would just pass it from one side to the other, and their only real outlets were Cunha and Dorgu. Dorgu, he had an all right game. I'm not For his standards, it was a good game, right? For Dorgu's standards of how bad he's been, I think it was a good game for him. But for Cunha, I think he always tries to do something, right? He always tries to do something. Sometimes it's the terrible choice, but he's always gonna try something, right? I think United misses this. You know, he's good. He's good on the ball when he has it. I don't think his first touch is too good. You know, I think the ball bounces off him too much, which is what leads to them losing the ball a couple of times. But I think I want to give a big shout out for you in the United side. I think Mason Mount has been very good. I think Mason Mount has been very, very complimentary to this Ruben Amorim system. I think he complements the style very good, you know, because he's not really a left winger or a right winger, and he's not really like a straight out like midfielder, center midfielder. I think it fits his role perfectly. An attacking midfielder is what Mason Mount is, and I think he's been very good for United. But today, you know, they're missing heavy players, right? They're missing like heavy presences in Amad Diallo and Brian and Mbumo. These are very important players for the Manchester United side. You know, they're probably the most attacking person is Amad Diallo, and their goal scorer is Brian Mbumo. So they're missing important players, but Aston Villa did what they were supposed to do. You know, everyone always talks about Arsenal winning the 2-1s or the 1-0s pretty comfortable, right? And well, not comfortable wise, but winning those like low scoring games, right? And I think Aston Villa did what they're supposed to. Every time their midfield got their ball, Kamada would look for the pass, for a good pass, for an attacking pass. Tillemans, every time he was on the ball, he'd go forward. John McGinn, I think he was outstanding today. He arguably, look, I have a whole section for Morgan Rogers, but arguably John McGinn was their second best player because every time he got the ball, he was an outlet. You know, he was one of the biggest outlets for them because yes, Tillemans would get out of the ball and make the pass forward, but John McGinn was always running. He was always looking for the cross. He was always looking for a through ball. He was always looking to open up the game. John McGinn was very good today, and he's the one that gave Morgan Rogers the man of the match, the man of the season probably so far. That pass where he gets the touch, runs it by the wing, make sure it doesn't go out. He cuts in, and gets the goal. And look, I haven't talked about Morgan Rogers for a very specific reason, right? Morgan Rogers has been so good, and today he just put the cherry on top for the last 10 games he's played. Right, Morgan Rogers has been a player that he's a topic of conversation when it comes to the England team, right? Because in the England team you have tens for days. You have Jude, you have Cole Palmer on the left. You have Rashford, you have Grealish, you have Gordon a little bit. He's kind of trash, but it's such a stacked English team that it's hard for players to get in. You know, you have Foden coming back to pure form. You have Foden coming back. You have Cole Palmer, Jude Bellingham. You have Rashford. You have Grealish. You have Eze. You know, you have all these players, but the person that stand out in the Premier League and in general out of all of them has been Morgan Rogers. You have all these attackers for England. You have all these players, and Morgan Rogers for me is a player that's putting his voting. Who's I'm playing. I'm gonna be there because look. Let's be honest. Saka hasn't had a good season. Rashford has been in and out of Barca. Jude hasn't had a good season. I'm a Madrid fan, and I'm saying this right. He hasn't had the best of seasons. Eze has been low. Eze has been very, very like out of par. He hasn't been to up to the game. He has Cole Palmer has been injured. Foden's coming back. He's one of them. But for England, he never does it right. And you hear all these reasons, all these things happening, right? Like I said, Palmer injured. Jude hasn't been at his best. He was injured. You see Foden coming back, but he's never good for England. Saka's been pretty slow start for him. Eze's been pretty slow start for him. Morgan Rogers has been the one that has created everything, the one who has been on form. And look, I don't really use the term on form because on form means that at some point it's going to drop, right? At some point it's going to drop off. At some point something's not going to go right? But I think Morgan Rogers is just that good, and he's that consistent. You know, he's not like he's just this first couple of months that he's shown us. He's been doing this, right? He had a slow start to an Aston Villa side that were still doing changes that didn't get any transfers in, so they had to restart with their own players. You know, they had that whole goalkeeper situation where Emi Martinez was about to leave, and then he come back, and they signed a goalkeeper, and he starts, and it was just weird start for Aston Villa. But Morgan Rogers has been good since last season. He's one of the main players who played a very important role in the Champions League run for Aston Villa. And Morgan Rogers today was amazing. Every time he got the ball, he would do something. Early on in the game, there was a chance that exactly like he scored the first one, where he got the ball in the wide areas. He cut in two, three times. It was the space was open. We know that space is going to be open when you play Manchester United, and he it was a bad shot. I think he was like only stayed on the floor. Lamens picks it up. But from there, I think he got the idea. If I start wide and cut in, and there will be space there because that shot that I'm telling you about, it was early on. It was in the first 15, 20 minutes that this happened, right? He was wide. He cut in multiple times, and the defense was at one part of the field, and the midfield was all in the other part of the field. That whole space was open. I think he figured it out right then and there that that was going to be his goal opportunity, and it came for once in the first half, and it came to him second in the second half. And I think it was just an outstanding performance by Morgan Rogers. And look, there's a lot of players out there who have the dribbling, who have the skill set, who have this and like that. Eze is one of them, right? He has the skills, he has the dribbling, he has the on the ball, right? But Morgan Rogers has shown how clinical he is when it comes to finishing. He's shown how clinical he is in front of goal, right? Eze in moments has it, but I don't think it's as consistent as a Morgan Rogers, right? And yeah, he clinical game by Morgan Rogers. He had like in total he had like 3 4 chances, and he finished two of them. Amazing goals, amazing performance by Morgan Rogers. But like I said, I think John McGinn played an amazing game. I think Tillemans was on and off. He had moments. I think Boubacar Kamara is just an amazing player in general. I think he's one of the most underrated DMs in the Prem and even in the world. I think he should be called up for that France team. I think he should be one of the players who's up for the front for the starting team, right? And yeah, I think Aston Villa did what they're supposed to do. And United, there's a lot of question marks around United because yes, they haven't lost. They have like 2 losses in 8 or 2 losses in 10 games or something in that realm. But they also only have 2 wins in 10. The 2 wins in 8. They have 2 wins. A lot of ties. A lot of they haven't won, right? And this is the first game we be without Embuemo. This is the first game without Diallo. This is the first game without Majraoui. And it's a hard task. It's a hard task. Beating Aston Villa at home is a hard task, but when there's run 2 wins in 10 games or 2 wins in 8, it's something in that realm. I don't think it's good enough. Like, yes, they're what, seventh or eighth place, but the league table is still weird because you win one game, you're fifth. You lose another game, you're eighth. Right? It's a weird time, but January is coming up, and things will start to settle down. Things will start making sense of where someone's gonna fight for top six, someone's gonna fight for top four, if someone's gonna just be in that 10 to 8, between that like 9 to 12 side where they don't really fight for anything. And the table will start figuring out itself a little bit more. And for United, it's interesting if they make big signings in January, which they might. I've heard Ruben Neves, I've heard Semenyo for a left wing back, which to me it doesn't make sense because you're scoring goals. Your goals scoring goals isn't really your problem this season. Your defense has been wide open in moments. You see Euro playing as a right back role, and that's why he gets opened up. He's what, 21, 22 years old, maybe even 19 or 20. He's in that realm of age bracket where he hasn't really played at this level for a whole full season. He was injured last season, and then you have him going out wide and playing this type of style. Left center back Shaw, who's not a natural center back. You have Aiden Heaven, who I find very good, who I've been calling for to start play for United since the start of last season. Since he got signed, I've been calling for Heaven because when I have watched him. I watched Aiden Heaven one game for United, and I thought I knew he was an amazing player. I knew he had a start. You could go back and watch the videos or TikTok. I have him in my underrated 11, even though he didn't play last season. But yeah, it's weird, right? I've already said this. I'm not sold on Ruben Amorim for United. There's things. The defense is wide open. Their attack is very limited. Their midfield, Manuel Ugarte. I don't know how he went for 50 million. I genuinely don't know how he went for 50 million. But PSG got the deal out of it. They got Joao Neves out of it. They got the 50 million by Joao Neves, who is 1,000 times better than Manuel Ugarte. And then Licha came back in that DM role, looked better than Manuel Ugarte. I think Casemiro is back for their next game. I think it was just a yellow card thing. Menu was injured apparently. I'm not trying to start any rumors or follow any rumors, but was he really that injured that he couldn't even be on the bench today? Who knows? And yeah, let's see what January is up. And it's a big January for the whole of the Prem. It's a big January for Liverpool. It's a big January for Arsenal or City. It's a big January for United, for Chelsea, for Aston Villa. Aston Villa didn't make any real signings in summer. Will they make any loan deals or transfers in January? Who knows? Because PSR is still the big problem for them. They got rid of Jacob Ramsey. And let's see if they do end up making any signings, right? Because Aston Villa is third place right now, and they could make a run for solidifying themselves in the Champions League once again. And Europa League, you know, Unai Emery in Europa League. So let's see how this goes. Aston Villa, 10 wins in a row. Let's see how it looks for them.